humans began to settle in the area now known as Rwanda after the last ice age, either during the Neolithic period around 8000 BC or during the Long Humid period, which lasted until around 3000 BC. Evidence of scattered settlements of hunter-gatherers from the late Stone Age has been found, followed by larger Iron Age settlers who made dimpled pottery and iron tools. These people were the ancestors of the Twa, a group of aboriginal pygmy hunter-gatherers who still live in Rwanda today. Between 700 BC and 1500 AD, a number of Bantu people migrated into Rwanda and began clearing forests for agriculture. The forest-dwelling Twa lost their homes and moved to the mountainsides. There are several theories regarding the Bantu migration. According to one theory, the first settlers were Hutu, while the Tutsi migrated later and constituted a distinct racial group, probably of Cushitic origin. An alternative theory is that the migration was gradual, and the incoming groups integrated rather than conquered the existing society. According to this theory, the Hutu-Tutsi divide emerged later and was a class rather than racial division. The first form of social organization in Rwanda was the clan, Ubwoko. The clan system existed throughout the Great Lakes region, and there were about 20 clans in Rwanda. Clans were not limited by lineage or geographic region, and most clans included Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa. From the 15th century on, the clans began to coalesce into kingdoms. By 1700, there were about 8 kingdoms in Rwanda. One of these, namely the Kingdom of Rwanda, was ruled by the Nyiginya clan, Tutsis who became increasingly dominant in the mid-18th century. The kingdom reached its peak in the 19th century under the reign of King Kigali Rwabugiri. Rwabugiri conquered several smaller states, expanded his territory to the west and north, and launched administrative reforms. One of these was the Ubuhake, which required Tutsi patrons to hand over livestock, and thus privileged status, to Hutu or Tutsi clients in return for economic and personal services. Another reform was the Uburetwa, a corvée system that required Hutu to work for Tutsi chiefs. The changes introduced by Rwabugiri led to the emergence of a gap between the Hutu and Tutsi. The status of the Twa was better than in pre-kingdom times, with some becoming dancers at the royal court, but their numbers continued to decline. The Berlin Conference of 1884 established Rwanda as part of the German Empire, thus beginning the colonial period. Explorer Gustav Adolf von Götzen was the first European to explore the country in 1894. He crossed from the southeast to Lake Kivu and met the king. The Germans did little to change Rwanda's social structure, but they established their power by supporting the existing king and hierarchy, and delegating power to local chiefs. Belgian troops took over Rwanda and Burundi during World War I, beginning a period of more direct colonial rule. The Belgians simplified and centralized the power structure, and began large-scale projects in education, health, public works, and agricultural supervision, including new crops and improved agricultural techniques to reduce famine. Both the Germans and the Belgians supported Tutsi supremacy and considered Hutu and Tutsi to be distinct races. In 1935, the Belgians introduced identity cards that labeled everyone as Tutsi, Hutu, Twa, or naturalized. While previously a wealthy Hutu could become a respectable Tutsi, identity cards stopped the movement between the two classes. Belgium continued to rule Rwanda as a United Nations trust territory after World War II, with a mandate to oversee independence. Tensions grew between the Tutsi, who supported early independence, and the Hutu emancipation movement, culminating in the Rwandan Revolution of 1959. Hutu activists began killing Tutsis and forcing more than 100,000 to flee to neighboring countries. In 1962, the now pro-Hutu Belgians held a referendum and general election, in which they voted to abolish the monarchy. Rwanda separated from Burundi and gained independence in 1962. Violence continued as displaced Tutsis began to invade neighboring countries, and the Hutu responded with large-scale killings and repression. In 1973, Juvenal Habyarimana launched a coup and came to power. Pro-Hutu discrimination continued, but economic prosperity improved, while violence against Tutsis declined. The Twa remained marginalized, and by 1990 had been almost completely driven out of the forests by the government. Many had become beggars. Meanwhile, Rwanda's population had increased from 1.6 million in 1934 to 7.1 million in 1989, leading to competition for land. In 1990, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, a rebel group composed mostly of Tutsi refugees, invaded northern Rwanda, starting the Rwandan Civil War. both sides were able to gain the upper hand during the war. But by 1992, the war had weakened Habyarimana's power. Massive demonstrations forced him to form a coalition with the opposition and eventually sign the 1993 Arusha Accords with the Rwandan Patriotic Front. The ceasefire ended on April 6, 1994, when Habyarimana's plane was shot down near Kigali Airport, killing 12 people. Killing the president. The shooting triggered the Rwandan genocide, which erupted within hours. Over the course of about 100 days, an estimated 500,000 to 1, Ntumen, Tutsis and moderate Hutus were massacred in well-planned attacks ordered by the interim government. Many Twa were also killed, although not directly targeted. The Rwandan Patriotic Front resumed its offensive, slowly taking control of the country. And by mid-July, it had taken control of all of Rwanda. The international response to the Rwandan genocide was minimal, as major powers were reluctant to reinforce the already overstretched United Nations peacekeeping force. When the Rwandan Patriotic Front took power, some 2 million Hutus fled to neighboring countries, especially Zaire, for fear of reprisals. In addition, the armed forces led by the Rwandan Patriotic Front were a major participant in the First and Second Congo Wars. In Rwanda itself, a period of reconciliation and justice began with the establishment of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda and the reinstatement of Gacaca, the traditional village court system. During the 2000s, Rwanda's economy, tourism, and Human Development Index improved significantly between 2006 and 2011. Poverty rates fell from 57% to 45%, and child mortality rates fell from 180 per 1,000 live births in 2000 to 111 per 1,000 live births in 2009. Rwanda's population is relatively young and predominantly rural, while its population density is one of the highest in Africa. Rwanda is home to 3 ethnic groups: the Hutu, the Tutsi, and the Twa. The Twa are forest-dwelling pygmies, who are descendants of Rwanda's earliest inhabitants, but scholars disagree on the origins and differences between the Hutu and Tutsi. Some believe they are social castes, while others view them as races or tribes. Christianity is the dominant religion in Rwanda, and the primary language is Kinyarwanda, spoken by the majority of Rwandans. Rwanda has a presidential system of government. The president of Rwanda is Paul Kagame of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, who came to power in 2000. Rwanda has a low level of corruption compared to its neighbors, but humanitarian organizations have cited widespread repression of opposition groups, intimidation, and restrictions on free speech. The country has been governed by a strict hierarchical administrative government since pre-colonial times. There are now 5 provinces, delineated by boundaries drawn in 2006. Hunter-gatherers settled the region in the Stone Age and Iron Age, followed by Bantu peoples. The population united, first as clans and then as kingdoms. The Kingdom of Rwanda dominated from the mid-18th century, with Tutsi kings ruling the others militarily, centralizing power, and later enacting anti-Hutu policies. Germany colonized Rwanda in 1884, followed by Belgium, which invaded in 1916 during World War I. Both European countries ruled through kings and instituted pro-Tutsi policies. The Hutu population revolted in 1959, slaughtering large numbers of Tutsis, and eventually establishing a Hutu-dominated independent state in 1962. The Tutsi-led Rwandan Patriotic Front launched the Rwandan Civil War in 1990, followed by the Rwandan Genocide in 1994. In the event, Hutu extremists killed an estimated 500,000 to 1 million estimated Tutsis and moderate Hutus. Rwanda's economy was in turmoil during the 1994 Rwandan Genocide, but has since recovered. Its economy is based primarily on agriculture. Coffee and tea are export commodities that are major sources of foreign exchange. Tourism is a rapidly growing sector and is now a major source of foreign exchange. In the country, mountain gorillas can be safely visited, and tourists are prepared to pay high prices for gorilla tracking permits. Music and dance are an important part of Rwandan culture, especially drumming and indoor dancing. Traditional arts and crafts are also produced throughout the country, such as imigongo, a unique cow dung art. The Republic of Rwanda, Kinyarwanda, Repubulika y'u Rwanda, French, République du Rwanda, English, Republic of Rwanda, Swahili, Jamhuri ya Rwanda, is a country in Central Africa. It is located a few degrees below the equator and borders Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. All of Rwanda is at high elevation, with mountains in the west, savanna in the east, and numerous lakes scattered throughout the country. The climate is warm to subtropical, with 2 rainy and 2 dry seasons per year,